Born around 1405, Gilles de Rais became an accomplished military hero, as well as one of the wealthiest men in France. However, his legacy would be forever stained when news of his atrocities became public. This is the disturbing tale of Gilles de Rais. Gilles de Rais was born into the lap of luxury around 1405 in the small French town of Champtey-sur-Loire. From his mother's side, he inherited connections to the influential House of Craon, and from his father, ties to the powerful Laval family. But his childhood was far from idyllic. By age 10, both his parents had passed away, his father in a hunting accident, and his mother soon after. Orphaned, he was taken in by his maternal grandfather, Jean de Craon, who had big ambitions for young Gilles. Jean de Craon attempted to marry Gilles into other noble families to extend the family's influence, but those plans met resistance. So Gilles, in a shocking act, kidnapped his third cousin, Catherine Touat, and wed her in a secret ceremony that bypassed the church's permission. It wasn't officially recognized until penance and payment were made to the church. This act marked the first sign of a man who would take whatever he desired, whether that was a bride, a battlefield victory, or even, disturbingly, a human life. Now, Gilles was more than just a scandalous noble. In 1427, he stepped onto the battlefield, ready to fight in the 100 Years' War against the English, and fight he did, laying siege to the Chateau of Lourdes, capturing an English commander and proving his courage time and time again. The crown took notice, and in 1429, Gilles de Rais was awarded the title of Marshal of France, the highest military honor in the nation. That same year, he fought side by side with Joan of Arc, the Maid of Orleans, defending France's very heart. But while Joan would meet a fiery end at the stake, Gilles would walk an even darker path. Following Joan's death in 1431, something shifted in Gilles. He retired from the battlefield, turning to extravagant living. He hosted lavish parties, spent heavily on arts and literature, and even built a personal chapel fittingly named the Chapel of the Holy Innocents. The spending spiraled out of control, and soon Gilles was selling family lands, much to his relatives' horror. The king himself finally intervened, declaring Gilles a waster and barring him from selling any more family property. Gilles' wealth dwindled, and his desperation grew. By 1435, Gilles was nearly bankrupt. The once proud knight became enmeshed in the occult, dabbling in alchemy and even summoning spirits. Witnesses would later claim he called upon a demon named Baron, sacrificing a child in exchange for wealth. But it wasn't just his finances that were unraveling. Dark rumors began to spread, rumors that children were disappearing near his castles, whispers of unspeakable acts committed in the dead of night. In 1440, Gilles' misdeeds came under investigation. It all began over a land dispute that led him to abduct a cleric, sparking a church inquiry into his behavior. Soon, multiple witnesses stepped forward, detailing horrific scenes they had seen or heard about. Stories of missing children were corroborated by evidence of remains buried near his estates. Servants confessed that they had seen Gilles burying the bodies of young victims, sometimes just children. The evidence was damning, and so Gilles was summoned before both the ecclesiastical court and secular authorities. What followed was a macabre confession. On October 21st, 1440, Gilles de Rais admitted to the most horrifying of crimes, murdering children, often in acts of terrifying cruelty. He described how he derived pleasure from their suffering, chilling accounts that would have shocked even the most hardened among the crowd. He seemed both proud and repentant, a man acknowledging his descent while standing at the very edge of death. Sentenced to death by hanging and burning, Gilles requested to be the first of his 3 condemned men to die, a request that the court granted. As the flames rose around him, he addressed the crowd, seemingly remorseful, asking for forgiveness. In his final request, he asked to be buried at the monastery of Notre Dame des Carmes in Nantes, where he hoped he could rest in some peace after a lifetime of sins. Today, much like Hungary's infamous infamous Countess Elizabeth Bathory, historians debate the true extent of Gilles' crimes. Some argue that his confession was coerced, while others believe political rivals exaggerated his misdeeds. Yet, unlike with Bathory, few doubt that Gilles was guilty of the dark deeds. The debate centers more on the scale of his crime than his innocence.
The shocking and brutal tale of Gilles de Rais serves as a reminder that things are not always as they appear, and is yet another tale from the underworld.